Welcome back to episode 21 of Plead Your Case. Today we're kicking it off with March Madness, the finals between Houston and Florida, followed up by our 5-5 with defending champion Dean Shazer and returning competitor Vincent Heller. After that, we're going to go into a special mini segment celebrating Alex Ovechkin's historic achievement, and we're ending it off with torpedo bats. Should they be banned or should MLB keep them in? Kick back, relax. It's time to plead your case.
Hey there, sports fans. You're watching another episode of Waynesburg University Community Television's only national sports debate show, Plead Your Case. Whether you're a diehard fan or a casual observer, get ready to join us every week as we dive deep into current pressing sports topics. Our panelists dissect every angle, every scenario, and every statistic to influence their fiery takes.
What has he done without Tom Brady?
And spirited arguments.
No, listen, Bowtie. Have you ever played Foursquare? No, you were too old to play Foursquare.
There will be no argument unexplored, and every take will be under review.
After reviewing the play...
Here in the Waynesburg University Communication Department, we believe in heated debates with a touch of friendly competition, which is why we also have a fresh 5-5 mini segment that you won't want to miss.
I don't think a pitcher is breaking Cy Young's wins record of 511.
You Google America's team and what do you get? You get the...
So sit back, relax, and get ready for some serious sports chat. It is time to plead your case.
Welcome back into your Plead Your Case. We're kicking it off with the March Madness Championship. The Florida Gators defeated the Houston Cougars 65-63 to cap off just an absolutely thrilling March Madness season. Benny, we're going to kick it over to you with just your thoughts on the game.
Overall thoughts, I was real excited going into this one, just kind of two unfamiliar faces. I mean, Houston had never won a national championship. Florida back in the championship game was definitely pleasing with all the star power. I know this is a little bit of a different type of Houston team, especially on the offensive side of things. This is a program that's built off defense. I was just real excited going into it, and it lived up to it. There's definitely moments in the game where I'm like, Houston could run away with this thing. Florida kept going on runs, getting the stops defensively, and that ultimately led to the win.
Yep.
I mean, we got to talk about this comeback by Florida. I believe they trailed by the most. It was 14 points at one point in that first half. And they ended up coming back. Walter Clayton Jr. didn't have the game that we really all expected him to have. He was 1 for 7 from behind the three-point arc in this game against Houston. And really, we didn't have a PYC show since the Final Four either. So that's something else we got to talk about. Houston played a great game against Duke. Duke played a good game too. They just ended up choking it near the end. And then Florida and who did they play? Jeez, it's slipping my mind. Auburn, yeah. That was a really good game too. But Florida was just able to pull out later in that game. So, but last night's game, or a couple nights ago now, when you guys will see it, I think it was a good national championship. 2-point game. You can't get better than that.
Yeah, just an absolute electric final. As you mentioned, Walter Clayton Jr., he did pick up the tournament MVP. Was that the right decision, Luke?
Yeah, I do. I think it is because he showed out throughout the entire tournament, and me and Benny were talking before, and it's usually going to be the best player on the team that wins the national championship that's going to win it. And Walter Clayton, by far, is the best player on this current Florida team. One of the best players in Florida history, up there with Joakim Noah and guys like that. But yeah, I think it's obvious. Even though he didn't have a good game last night, he didn't have the best game. He had 11 points. He still had those 7 assists. Still, leading the team in that category last night. I think you give it to Clayton, and I don't think there's really any other option.
Yeah. If Duke would have made it and won the tournament, I probably would have told you Cooper Flag. That is not the case. So you simply have to go with Walter Clayton Jr. Coming into the tournament altogether, he wasn't projected to get drafted. Now he's potentially a lottery pick, and I think teams would be dumb not to reach out and draft this guy. He's comparisons to Steph Curry. He almost shoots the same way as Steph Curry. And when you have that upside, you have to draft a guy like that. The last person we've seen compared to Steph Curry was Trae Young. He's done great in the league. He survived all the trade talks, I know, but he's done a great job in Atlanta. And I think that Clayton can kind of bring that kind of impact that Trae Young brought to Atlanta, turning them around. I know Atlanta's in the play-in tournament, but I think Walter Clayton Jr., he's somebody that can step in right away and make a difference on the team. He's much more athletic than Steph Curry, and it comes with that football background. I think that's part of it. He has a lot of muscle, and he's really good driving to the rack. He's a great finisher as well, and I think he's just a can't-miss prospect. And in terms of comparing him to Flagg, I think Flagg might have the better overall numbers in terms of rebounding, blocks, that types of aspects. But in terms of scoring, you got to go with Walter Clayton Jr.
Yeah, and you kind of hit on my next question. What does this do for Walter Clayton's draft stock? Luke, what's your take?
Yeah, like Benny said, he wasn't really on the first-round draft radars prior to the tournament. And usually recently a lot of the one-and-dones really don't play well in the tournament. You think about, like Cade Cunningham, for example. I'm pretty sure he lost in the first round with Oklahoma
Rob Dillingham
State.
last year.
Rob Dillingham. All these guys who are highly touted, highly touted in the draft, usually don't play as well, and sometimes they do. There's guys like who's an example of a guy that's gone high and played well? Like Zion, that's pretty sure they made the Final Four.
If you look at Castle last year for UConn.
Yeah, exactly. Stephon Castle, he went up. But usually those guys in the top 5 aren't going to play as well. And then you have a guy like Walter Clayton Jr. who shows out in the tournament. Now he's going to get drafted, and now he's going to be making millions of dollars in the NBA one day. And he, like you said, I think maybe somewhere in the middle of the first round, he could really help a team that's on the edge of contending right now and help them contend.
One thing I want to add in terms of Clayton as a draft prospect is all these guys are pretty much based off potential in the NBA. Clayton, he's a senior. I think that he might be able to somewhat change the way that the NBA views these seniors. We might see people start returning to college, and because like I mentioned, he's a guy, you can't tell me he can't go in right now and impact an NBA organization.
Yeah, exactly. My next question is, do you guys remember the last time a March Madness was this exciting, this competitive? Benny, we'll kick it off with you.
In terms of an overall tournament, I definitely would have taken tournaments in the past years. But in terms of championship, I think it was kind of just the fresh look, unfamiliar faces that kind of brought a different aspect to the championship game. But in terms of tournament, I definitely would have taken years past just with the upsets. There wasn't much upsets other than Arkansas. I know some people don't even consider that game an upset just with their coaching and their overall roster. I think Arkansas should be very good next season.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the final bracket in general, it looks like my mom picked the bracket and just picked the higher seeds for most of them, picked some random upsets. I like the upsets. I like the teams like, FAU a couple years ago making it to the Final Four. Those are some teams, John L. Davis, he's on Arkansas. They made a run this year. I like when teams who are good, but they don't play as well in the regular season, they turn it on for a couple of games, they make it far. The Final Four, though, I mean, there's not much you can be upset about in the Final Four. Those are some of the best college basketball games you'll see this season. And in the tournament, to be fair, the Final Four, all those games were close, and all of them were competitive. And that's what happens when you have all 4 1 seeds making that Final Four.
Yeah, I know personally I had Florida versus Houston in my bracket going to the championship. I had Houston picking that up, but fortunately didn't get it this year. Maybe next year. As we conclude this segment here, the Florida Gators did defeat the Houston Cougars 65-63 to cap off March Madness season. Walter Clayton was your star of the show. And that's going to do it today for Benny and Luke. I'm Chase Maseko, and we're heading over to the 5 and 5 mini segment with Dean Shazer and Vinny Heller. Welcome back into Plead Your Case. It's time for the 5 and 5 mini segment between your defending champion, Dean Shazer, and your returning competitor, Vinny Heller. You ready to go, boys?
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
Let's get into it.
Okay. Kicking it off with Dean, question number 1 is going to be, With the NBA playoffs just around the corner, what teams are going to make it into the play-in tournament?
Well, with the Eastern Conference, you got all 4 teams that everyone really expected, that being the Orlando Magic, Atlanta Hawks, Chicago Bulls, and Miami Heat. As far as that one goes, it's going to be Paolo Banchero, Cole Anthony, and the Orlando Magic. My reasoning for that being they took the Cleveland Cavaliers last year to 7 games. No one expected it. It's going to happen again this year. They're going to get that 8 seed and compete with the 1 seed. Next in the West, it's wide open. There's seeds 3 to 8. All teams within 2 games of each other.
Vinny?
That was 30 seconds.
Moving on.
I got to talk about both in 30 seconds.
My 8 seed, I got the Magic taking it. I mean, Paulo Banchero, same as him. He's a key player, strong defense, smooth offense. We'll move into the Western Conference pretty quick. I think the T-Wolves are going to take it. Anthony Edwards leading his team to victory. He's just nuts himself. They're also ranked 5th against top defenses, averaging 119 points per 100 possessions, and they're just all around a great team, and I think they'll take it.
Done.
That was 30 seconds. That is the shortest 30 seconds I've ever felt my time being up here. I have to talk about both conferences. Why? My team in the West, I'm going to go off script. It could be no one knows what the play-in is yet.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Question 2, starting off with Vinny. Vinny, who's going to win the NBA Finals this season?
Strong and stout, man, the Oklahoma City Thunder. You got SGA, who's MVP caliber play. A huge, deep roster. High ranks in perimeter defense, paint defense. They force turnovers at will. They got athletes all around. Jalen Williams averaging well above 20. Chet Holmgren's back. His last 3 games, he's averaged 17 points, and I definitely think rolling through the playoffs, them 3 alone will carry their team to win.
Well, here comes my 10-second spiel. It feels like it's not going to be SGA in the Oklahoma City Thunder simply because he's a free throw merchant. You've seen time and time again when they play elite teams. They played the Cavs in the middle of the season. Great game. They took advantage of it. They just got dominated by Luka, LeBron, and the Lakers. 126-99 in that game. They play again tonight, so it's going to be another true test to see what they can do. Your NBA champion is going to be either the Denver Nuggets from the West with Jokic or the Boston Celtics with the most complete roster in the league. Is that 30 seconds? That sure felt a little closer to it. Thanks. Question 3. Here we go.
Okay, moving on to question number 3. Back to you, Dean. Are torpedo bats comparable to sticky substances for pitchers in the MLB?
Not in any way, shape, or form. Sticky substances were banned league-wide in 2021. That's actually when they implemented the umpires checking the pitcher's glove, pitcher's everything, to make sure there are no sticky substances to begin with. If you can't barrel a baseball, the torpedo bat is not beneficial in any way, shape, or form. You got to be able to put the barrel to the ball. And I understand the barrel is slightly bigger because you're shifting that wood from the handle into the actual barrel. But no, it's not comparable in any way, shape, or form.
Vinny?
I honestly couldn't have said it better. The torpedo bat, all it really does is increases the exit velo. You could see it as comparable, but at the end of the day, I still believe one of the hardest things to do in the world is hit a 90 to 100 mile per hour fastball. So, if you get a piece of it, it's definitely a reward, but I don't think it compares at all.
Okay, moving on to question number 4. Over to you, Vinny. What's the best sports playoff environment?
I think I have to take the cake on this one. The college football playoffs, undoubtedly. There's one, you got the atmosphere, the extended 12-team format. And my favorite part, honestly, is the campus games. How the first round is played by the higher seed at their house. So say you play, Penn State, even if you wanted to. I hate Penn State, but the standout is freaking insane. The crowd is packed. It's white noise everywhere. And just that's constantly throughout the playoffs. Every game, no matter what, bowl games, championship, it blows everything out the water.
Dean?
So playoff environment as a whole, like talking about people, you have 110,000 people in a college football stadium. But I was in a toss-up between baseball playoffs, your 9th inning walk-off home runs, or your Stanley Cup playoffs, which every series goes at least 6 or 7 games, it feels like. It's in an enclosed arena. The noise echoes. The place vibrates. The atmosphere is unmatchable when a goal is scored. It's the most unpredictable sport there is next to baseball is hockey. It's live action the whole time. Hits. The intensity is unmatched across every sport. It's hockey. I don't like this. I'm getting a different vibe today from this 30 and 30. I feel like I'm getting cut off a little too soon. points aren't being made, we'll go to segment 5. But I just feel like this one's
Moving
a little
on to
different
question
than last
5.
week.
I have it at 2-2 right now, gentlemen. So going back to Dean, who has the best chance to win the Stanley Cup final?
It's definitely not the Toronto Maple Leafs. Name me the last time the Maple Leafs have won anything, even though they're the best team in the West or in the East right now. It's got to be the Winnipeg Jets. Connor Hellebuck, this is the year that they seem to have the President's Trophy in hand, which means most points across the whole league. Although there's the President's Trophy curse, but the Jets just haven't been able to get past that second round hump. And with Connor Hellebuck being in the West and being the top goaltender in the West, it's got to be the Winnipeg Jets, and they're going to play the Florida Panthers. Matthew Tkachuk's not even healthy yet. Last game he played was the gold game against USA.
Vinny?
All right, I'm not taking, you said Winnipeg. I'm going with the Capitals here. Dominant regular season, record-breaking by Alex Ovechkin, getting his record. But even guys like Alex Ovechkin, great goal scorer, playmaking, he got the veteran playoff experience. Rasmus Sandin, he's two-way defender, he's young, mobile, really good transition play. I definitely feel like even you could add Dylan Strome in there, leads a team to 70 points. He's just these young combination of studs are going to take these.
Done.
Could finish it.
Capitals are going to win.
Great arguments today, fellas. And I'm going to break down the scoring that I saw. Question 1.
Well, I didn't get a point across.
teams-
I didn't get my point across in question 1. I had 15 seconds.
What teams are going into the play-in? I did have Vinny there. He did get both the conferences in.
Yeah, he got both points across because he had 30.
And then moving on to question 2, who's going to win the NBA Finals? I had Dean there. I thought it was a better argument overall. Was able to sum up his points very well. Back to the MLB torpedo bats. I went with Dean there. I think having the start in that question definitely helped out with you guys both having the same argument. For number 4, I went to Vinny there. That college football playoff. As a Penn State fan myself, there's nothing like watching 110,000 people in a stadium.
Said he hates your team.
Know the
He
audience.
hates the Nittany Lions, and you're
Know
giving
the
him the
audience.
points. It's all right, no bias here.
And finally, who has the best chance to win the Stanley Cup? I had Dean there.
0 for 3, man. You're 0 and 3.
Dean Shazer repeats in the 5-5 champion.
I don't feel as if I deserved it, honestly. Sorry, Vinny.
Another great argument out of these two individuals. We'll see you next time on 5-5. For the next segment, we'll be back with Dean Shazer to talk about Alex Ovechkin breaking the goal record.
Unable to watch the live stream? Follow our account on X for live updates on the game. Check us out on Instagram as well for game day posts with all the information you need to know, as well as behind the scenes of each production. Our social media team works the hardest to give the best content to all of our audience. We're even on TikTok. You can stay up to date with WCTV on our Instagram account with clips from each of our shows. And last but not least, subscribe to our WCTV YouTube channel to watch those shows in full length. Check us out from Lewiston, WCTV, and the entire Department of Comm.
Welcome back into Plead Your Case. Alex Ovechkin scored his record-breaking 895th goal, surpassing Wayne Gretzky this past Sunday versus the New York Islanders. And Dean Shazer is here to break it down for us.
Yeah, well, what once was the Great Chase is now the Great Chase is now the Great Await. Alexander Ovechkin just broke, as you said, Wayne Gretzky, the Great One's 894 goal scoring record, and a phenomenal feat at that. Alexander Ovechkin, a guy who had 350 goal seasons in a row in the span of obviously 3 seasons from 2013 to 2016, who had all the hype coming in with Sidney Crosby, rookie phenom, who's been on the American spotlight and Canadian spotlight in terms of the National Hockey League for 10 years before he actually came into the league. It's always been Alexander Ovechkin, Sidney Crosby. They both have broke fantastic feats that the great one, Wayne Gretzky, has set himself. The goal record being this past Sunday against the New York Islanders, where they stopped and had a ceremony in the middle of the game, similar to LeBron's, all-time scoring points record. They had the ceremony in the middle of the game and then ended up losing that game, did the Capitals. But Sidney Crosby as well, a guy who came into this year having a chance to beat Wayne Gretzky's point-per-game record. He also did that. So Alexander Ovechkin and Sidney Crosby have lived up to the hype for years. The Calder Cup trophy winner, that's the Rookie of the Year in the NHL, did Ovechkin. And 2018 Stanley Cup winner, Alexander Ovechkin. Chase, I mean, just the pure skill, the pure greatness, the utter just disbelief that you can't believe that these guys broke these records. Alexander Ovechkin, Sidney Crosby, we've watched them growing up for years being Penguins fans. What do you think about Alexander?
Yeah, I mean, having just the absolute privilege to watch Sidney Crosby and Alexander Ovechkin dance on the ice for 20 seasons coming up, it's just been incredible. And as much as us being Penguins fans and not really liking the Capitals, we can still respect the greatness that Alexander Ovechkin has provided for us in these 20 seasons.
Yeah, nothing but joy watching that moment on Sunday. I actually was on the phone while he broke his record. Thank God my TV was behind because I got the ESPN notification that 8:95 just happened. Turned the TV on, actually got to see the goal live on the television, which was pretty remarkable. But 42 goals in 61 games as a 39-year-old. They asked him in 2016, do you think you have a chance to break the great one's record, Wayne Gretzky? He said no, because at that time he would have to be averaging 50 goals across 6 seasons. And his answer was, I don't even know if I'll be able to skate in 6 seasons. Evgeny Malkin, one of his fellow Russian friends, they grew up together playing on the World Juniors teams and on the Olympics teams. Did Evgeny Malkin and Alexander Ovechkin, two soon-to-be NHL Hall of Famers. Malkin said, I don't know how the guy does it. He sits around, he eats like a normal human, he doesn't work out, and he still scores 50 goals a season. So Alexander Ovechkin, kudos to you. 895 and many more, I'm assuming. You watch him on the power play, he doesn't move, so he doesn't have to skate all that much, and there should be many more to come. I'd say 3 more seasons, about 30 goals per each, puts him close to 1,000. Do you think he'll break 1,000?
I hope he does. Yeah, if he can get these next couple seasons under his belt, especially with what he's been doing, even at age 39, he definitely has a chance. And I think it's just if he wants to keep playing, and I think he will.
Well, what do we have after this, Chase? Coming up is
thanks for joining us,
so take it away.
Dean. We're going to head over and talk about the MLB and torpedo bats. Should they be banned, or are we good to keep them for a while? Welcome back into Plead Your Case. The MLB has been taken over by torpedo bats. You may wonder what these are. These are basically bats that have brought the edge of the barrel down closer to the middle in order for players to impact the ball. So we're going to get started straight into the main question. Should torpedo bats be banned? We're going to kick it off with you, Luke.
I think no, because when you look at the statistics of the players using them right now, I'll go through the list of some of the notable guys using torpedo bats. There's only about 15 through 20 of them. You know, Adley Rutschman, Nico Horner, Dansby Swanson, Ellie De La Cruz, Carlos Correa, Lindor, 5 guys on the Yankees. We'll talk about those, I'm pretty sure, in a little bit. Alec Bohm of the Phillies, O'Neal Cruz, Junior Caminero, and Yandy Diaz of Tampa Bay. When you go through their stats this year, they're not really – some of them are getting worse and some of them are getting better. So I think there is a middle ground where these bats – they're not used to juice, hit the ball farther. The barrel is used, the barrel was put closer to the handle for better bat control, better, bat speed. And you're usually, I think scientists, the guy at MIT who the Yankees hired, they figured out that they were making contact closer to the handle than they were on the end of the bat. You're going to get more hits when you're hitting it closer to the handle on right where the barrel usually starts, rather on the end. So these bats, they made them bigger towards the, the middle of the bat and they tapered them off towards the ends because you're not really getting a lot of hits off the end of the bat. At least these MIT guys for the Yankees figured out.
For me, I'm kind of in between right now with where I stand on it. I think we're going to need more time and more players to pick it up. You mentioned only 15 players to this point, and in my eyes, it really just depends on how the MLB views it. Because in terms of viewership, the viewership could be up with home runs. You know, that's what the fans want to see. And like I said, I just think we're going to need more time, more players to pick it up. You mentioned some players like it, some might not like it. It's going to come down to preference. And I think this will get addressed at the end of the season. However, I don't think we're going to see a mid-season ban at All-Star break. I think it's going to take a full season of more players picking it up to really get a true opinion on where the MLB views it, especially.
Yeah, and Luke, you hit on this point a little bit earlier. The Yankees had a huge opening weekend. It was 9 home runs in one game, 15 homers overall in the weekend. Do you guys think that was more of torpedo bats, the Yankees being good, or a little bit of Yankee Stadium helping them out? Benny, we'll start with you.
I think it's a little bit of everything. It seems like the Yankees were kind of in on this before the whole MLB kind of got in on it, and it seems like before the season began in that off season, they were already using those torpedo bats, and the Yankees just hosted. The Pirates just hosted the Yankees. We saw, pretty much 1 through 9 in their lineup already hit multiple home runs. It's definitely working for them and other stadiums as well. Volpe's hitting the ball great. You mentioned, Luke, the bat's pretty much made for Volpe.
Yeah, that's the guy.
I think the Yankees are going to strive, and I think, honestly, to this point, they're kind of setting a tone for the whole rest of the league. They're pretty much, the test dummy, you could say, or the guinea pig, that you're kind of just giving them the new product, seeing what they can do, and the rest of the league is kind of just watching.
Yeah, I think we might see other teams and other players succeed with the torpedo bats later on this season, later on in the years, if it continues to be a legal bat, which I think it is because the dimensions and of the bat are legal in the MLB. But I think the Yankees so far have been benefiting the most from these torpedo bats. You look at a guy like Benny said, Anthony Volpe, whose barrel percentage rate this season has gone from, let's see what it was. It was around 4% to around 21% now, which is a big, when you're hitting a ball and putting it in play, 1 out of 5 times you're barreling it up, that's a huge deal. Then you have other guys. Jazz Chisholm's a good hitter, don't get me wrong, but his barrel percentage went from around 9% to around 35% so far this 2025 season. The other 3 guys you have, Austin Wells, he's a young catcher. He has 2 home runs on the season. We won't really look too much into him yet because of how little he has played in the MLB. But guys like Cody Bellinger and Paul Goldschmidt, who are 2 former MVPs in this league, they're going to hit no matter what they have in their hands. No matter how old they're getting. Goldschmidt's getting old. He's on the latter half of his career. So is Bellinger. But those guys are just sluggers. Those guys are going to hit no matter what you put in their hand. I think the Yankees are going to continue to use these, and they're going to fight to use them.
Yeah. My last question for you, gentlemen, is going to be, should MLB teams be scrambling to get these bats, or should they take a wait-and-see approach for them?
So for me, I think it comes down to just getting the experience with them. So, let's say you're playing Saturday and you have, a day or 2 in between. I think, during BP, just go out there with the barrel, see what feels better, because it really comes down to preference. I think a lot of teams can benefit from it, like the Pittsburgh Pirates are not a great hitting team, and I think if some of the players were able to pick up that bat, that it could bring a difference. And like I mentioned, I know the fans want to see home runs, and I think this could help. But like I said earlier, I think right now the Yankees are kind of just a test dummy, and the league's kind of just all watching in. Like I said, though, I would not be surprised that during BP, some of these guys are picking up the torpedo bats just to feel a preference. It's got to be the conversation in the dugout, just along all players. You look at the MLB across. It was the number one thing talked about pretty much last week, MLB and all of sports. Everybody's talking about the torpedo bat. So I think everyone's just kind of watching from the outside in.
Yeah, as much as older baseball fans hate to realize it, baseball is a more scientific game than it ever has been. And I think some testing is going to have to be done, because one of the stories about the torpedo bats that has been going on this week is the injury of Giancarlo Stanton, who really used the torpedo bat a lot in the postseason last year. And he started this season on the injury list with some elbow soreness. I think they called it tennis elbow. And he alluded to it being because of bat adjustments later in the season. But in an interview earlier this week, he said, you're not going to get the story you want. These torpedo bats are working. You're not going to get the story that the torpedo bat is the reason my elbows are injured. But I think MLB teams are going to look into that. Is that the reason why? Are these going to cause injuries because of the weight shift? I think you could see it happening more later on in the season maybe, or the beginning of next season, just because you'll have a whole full off season to work with those bats. It's an adjustment. Because these Yankees, they were using them all off season, I'm pretty sure, and that's why they're off to a hot start. They have the edge.
I got one more thing to add, just real quick. In terms of like advantages, I would say that for teams that don't hit the ball necessarily well, they'd kind of be dumb right now not to experiment with the torpedo bat. And anything that you can use to your advantage, especially legally, I don't see why not.
Yeah, I know. As a Pirates fan, I'm hoping that we get a large shipment of those bats in. But that's going to do it today on episode 21 of Plead Your Case. Stick around on WCTV for more awesome content, and we'll see you next week here on Plead Your Case.
This has been a production of Waynesburg Community Television.